Hi there, it's Friday, September 4th. I hope you're having a good afternoon and looking forward to the weekend. We are at the end of our second week, and here we are on a Friday, so I want to take stock of where we've been and where we're going, right? So these last 2 weeks might have felt like you were on a bicycle and you were hurtling downhill at immense speed with no brakes. See, look at it. The computer just spontaneously illustrated that by popping down very quickly. Because you've actually gotten kind of the basic information about the course, which is something you want to remember to revisit and to help yourself remember. Don't just think that the syllabus is something you read and you forget about, because it's actually there to help you understand what you need to do, what you need to know how to do. And then you had this entire module on how to think like an art historian, because every discipline that you study in college, whether it's nursing or environmental sciences or art history or literature, every discipline has its own methods. And one of the things you're learning are the methods of that discipline, how to think and proceed in the way experts in that discipline do. So that's what you did for the first week. And I want to kind of take stock of your accomplishments on that end. So you began by working with your senses, because a very important part of art history is what you can learn directly from the artwork through your senses. That's a major thing in art history, but that also, on a bigger level, is what we call empirical investigation. Definition of empirical: based on, concerned with, or verifiable by observation or experience, rather than just theory or just logic. So empirical is the foundation of the sciences, as well as an essential part of art history's concern with physical and formal objective facts. Then you started working with the idea that you have to also think about historical context, because not everything can be known directly through your senses. That was, right, the point with the hair of the two children, that hair as a signifier of gender is a cultural convention that varies from time and place. So you've actually been learning an entire kind of procedure of a discipline that involves multiple critical thinking skills in 1 week. And I think you should give yourself a pat on the back. And you've been learning terms like iconographhy, iconology, right, and the 4 levels of art historical analysis. So I revisit this quickly here because with something like the methods of a discipline, it's not a once and done. You have to revisit. You have to repeat, refine your knowledge of them. That's actually what all learning is. Repeat, refine. It's the whole deal. You could say that's what all living is, but I digress. And so then you started learning to think in terms of a historical period, a century, the 17th century, and we associate that with a stylistic period, so you started thinking about Baroque as a stylistic category, and learning to see how individual artists like Bernini and Caravaggio can be exemplars of a Baroque style, a period style, but also have their own individual recognizable thumbprint, you could say, their own stylistic manner that can be identified. But you also started needing to think about the patrons of these artists, and I want to stress that more and more as we go forward, right? So the idea that the 17th century in Italy, and also beyond Italy, is very much about the Catholic Church's counter-Reformation cultural programming, right? And so the counter-Reformation Church is a major institutional patron. The popes have immense power and authority, cultural, religious. They control immense economic powers. And so as patrons, they can hire someone like Bernini to make things of grand scale, expensive, big statements that are meant to last the centuries. And I stress this because, I had you watch the Simon Schama film on Caravaggio because it's really well done and it's fascinating. And Simon Schama is so gifted with language and with thought. He's an amazing guide. You learn so much from him. But we can sometimes get too infatuated with the story of the artist, right? We can think that's the whole deal. The story of Caravaggio, the story of Gentileschi, the story of Bernini. But it's also the story of the patron, right? It's actually about the interaction between the patron who's hiring the artists and what the artist can make for that kind of patron. And I stress that because as we go forward next week, we'll move to different regions where the economy and the patrons are quite different. You will see two more new individual artists of immense renown that you have to know deeply because they're unforgettable, Rembrandt and Vermeer. And you will watch really well done films on them. And the one on Rembrandt is also by Simon Schama. So you'll hear his voice again and his inimitable style. But these artists are working in a place that is not controlled by the popes. And so we'll actually be seeing these paintings like this by Vermeer they're very small, relatively small, jewels of small artworks that are painted for ordinary merchants, for the interior of prosperous citizens' homes in a bustling city of a booming beginning of capitalism. So that's what's coming. I hope you pat yourself on the back for all you've accomplished in 2 weeks, 14 days. Wow. You're chugging along. Buckle up your seatbelt. It's still going to be a wild ride, but I think you'll have fun.